The co-main event for UFC Fight Night Moreno versus Royval 2 on the Mexico card will be between Yair Rodriguez and Brian Ortega in their second fight since their last fight. I believe it was about a year and a half ago. A couple fights for Yair Rodriguez did happen between then. He ended up getting the victory over Brian Ortega because of the shoulder injury that he did suffer. I think it was like the first round or it was like the middle of the first round. And then right after that, he got the interim fight against Josh Emmett on that Perth card. I think it's UFC 284, I want to say. And then ended up winning the interim belt and facing Alexander Volkanovski, I think, on International Fight Week or something like that. So Yair Rodriguez is coming off a loss to the champion, Alexander Volkanovski, about 5 months ago. So this is actually a relatively quicker turnaround than what Yair has been, I guess, used to. I guess recently it hasn't been as bad, but he took about like 7 months off before then, but he also took like a while after the Max Holloway fight. Like, he's not the most active guy, but he is taking 5 months between fights. I guess by the time this fight happens, it will be a little bit later, but still he is taking some decent fight times between fights, so that's pretty cool to see for Yair. But he's 31 years of age, so he's still relatively young. He's still entering his prime. Featherweight is not like bantamweight, where once you start hitting your 32, 33 is when you start to see the speed going and you start to move down the rankings a little bit more. This is a little bit different at featherweight because you see a guy like Volkanovski kind of dominating the division up at the top for a very long time. Even Emmett's a little bit older and he's still kind of hovering in the top 5 area. But Brian Ortega, coming off again that shoulder injury in their last fight a year and 5 months ago, he's had a lot of stuff happen between then. I'm surprised he took as much time off. He isn't the most active fighter either, let's be real. I think his last fight one was in 2020 against the Korean Zombie 3 years ago, so he's still top 5. I want to say the UFC has him in the top 5 right now, but again, Brian Ortega, not the most active as a guy, but he is coming off of a shoulder injury. But going into this fight, we didn't see much of their first fight, but this is, of course, going to be an early prediction breakdown. But not seeing much from what happened in their first fight, because what majority of a lot of people wanted to see was what it would look like when it gets to the ground, because we know Yair Rodriguez is going to piece up Brian Ortega pretty badly, or at least it was going to be one-sided. I thought Brian Ortega had actually like decent stand-up. Even though he is very hittable, he does have some very decent stand-up and he can kind of hang on the feet. It didn't look that way in that fight. I'm going to be honest, Yair Rodriguez looked a lot better than Ortega, and Ortega looked like he was not taking shots as well. He has a really good chin, but in that first round it didn't look like he was taking the shots as well as I thought he would. But then it got to the ground and then he got the shoulder injury. So that was the big question mark of that fight. Was eventually Brian Ortega, he's going to take all his punishment, take Yair to the ground, and he has such good jiu-jitsu game, such good grappling, that's going to be able to submit Yair Rodriguez. And we didn't get to really see that because he got injured. But I am going to go with Yair Rodriguez in this fight. Much younger. Brian Ortega is super inactive, especially at this point in his career. I'm going to have to go with Yair. He covers distance pretty well. He didn't do great against Alexander Volkanovski, but that's, let's be real, it's Volk. I mean, he just finds ways to win. He's probably like the most balanced fighter in the UFC right now. Even though he did lose to Makhachev. Makhachev is definitely getting better on the feet, but I think as an all-around fighter, I think Volkanovski is 100% one of the best guys in the UFC, if not like the top, as like the most balanced, the best well-rounded fighter in the UFC. So that's not a bad loss to have. You definitely saw the problem in Yair Rodriguez's takedown defense, but Brian Ortega is not that great of a, he's a really good offensive grappler, but when it gets to the ground, he's not really going to force a takedown on you. Like, he's not going to take you down at will. So I am going to go Yair Rodriguez. I'm going to say by KO. I don't like Brian Ortega taking a year and a half off. It's different if he's taking a lot of damage and he's coming off and he's healing up a little bit more, like keeping the chin healthy. It's a little bit different that way because he does take a lot of damage in his fight. Brian Ortega has taken a lot of damage recently. I mean, he took some damage against Yair Rodriguez, but he took a lot against Volkanovski in that fight. Like, he got absolutely dominated, despite what I guess some people said. If you're in the arena, people will say that's the fight of the year. It was a really good, like, one round that was there because Ortega almost submitted him twice in one round. But other than that, he pretty much got beaten pretty badly. So I'm going to go Yair Rodriguez. I'm going to say, like, a second or third round TKO. I can just see him, just the fact that Yair is able to cover so much distance on the feet. He's super fast as well, super powerful. I can just see him standing TKOing Brian Ortega on the feet, if not like hurting him very badly and the ref just kind of stepping in a little bit more. I don't think he's going to put him out cold, but I do think that especially in this atmosphere with the loud Mexican crowd, like, I don't think Mexico has had a card in a very long time. I think the last time they had it, I want to say, was the Jeremy Stevens fight with Yair Rodriguez. I could be wrong there, but that was about, what, like 4 years ago. Hopefully nothing crazy happens, like no injury happens like it did happen in, or I guess the Jeremy Stevens fight. Wasn't it like an eye poke or something that the ref called it? This was the decision after, but before then, they're in the Mexico, yeah, accidental eye poke. It got ended there, and then they're like throwing shit into the cage and stuff. So they haven't been there in a while. I could be wrong. I don't remember another Mexico card after that, but hopefully nothing crazy happens like that again. But I'm going to go Yair Rodriguez. I think he gets the standing TKO victory over Brian Ortega. This is a 5-round fight. I was thinking, like, if it is 3 rounds, I think Yair could probably get the decision, because I think Ortega can kind of survive for 3 rounds. But I think over 5 rounds, it does give Ortega more opportunities on the ground, but he is getting older. 33 years of age, isn't the most active. Yeah, he's pretty active at this point in his career. Looked pretty good in that first fight, as from like what we've seen. His takedown defense isn't horrible, but I think he can kind of survive. Like, he did submit Josh Emmett, who's actually a pretty decent grappler and wrestler. So Josh Emmett was hurt, and I don't want to say he was looking for a way out of it, but you can definitely say that if you wanted to. But I'm gonna go Yair Rodriguez, 3rd round standing TKO victory over Brian Ortega in this fight. Let me know what you guys think about this fight down below in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time.